Welcome, everybody, to another episode of the Gorilla Consultants podcast. I am Will Crabtree, your host. I'm here with my co-host, Sophia, and our guest today is Mr. Brad. Is it Brad or Bradley?
Technically Bradley.
Technically Bradley, but we know you as Brad.
Yeah, you can call me whatever you want.
And you currently work for Tampa Printer as inside sales, correct?
Correct.
All right, and you've kind of been all over the place in the organization. You started out where with Tampa Printer?
In production.
Okay,
so you get to learn the lay of the land.
You were on the production floor, and then you were kind of just dedicated as inside sales, but you were working for all of the different companies, and you were working at the in our offices, Gorilla Consultants, and then you were over at Sign Parrot for a little bit, and now you're back over here at Tampa Printer, and you're working just for Tampa Printer, but doing inside sales.
Yeah,
right?
still doing a little bit of everything.
Okay.
But mostly focused on Tampa Printer.
Nice. How's it going?
It's great. Every day's good.
Right
Every
on.
day's only what you make it.
All right. Well, the reason that I wanted you to be a guest on today's podcast is it's very relevant to the topic that we're going to be discussing throughout the next few episodes of this podcast. And one of the components of this is the what, and forgive me, the name of the organization that we visited yesterday. What was the name of the organization?
Oh, it was Children's Home Network.
Children's Home Network. So Children's Home Network is a facility that houses foster children. It's kind of a group home or an in-between home for kids that haven't been placed yet. They have children between the ages of 5 and 17, I believe. They have facilities for 60 children, and they're currently housing 50 right now. And they also help with the placement of children, and they have a big emphasis on making sure that they keep sibling groups together. And as we found out yesterday, they even have a specific cottage for those groups, so that those kids even live under the same roof together, and they still have their own kitchen. They have the kitchen. As we saw, like they have these little houses essentially, right, with a bunch of rooms, and they have a kitchen, and it's it's almost like being at home, but you're in a group home, right? Wow. So the way this kind of all came about was very interesting. I was speaking at an event in Copenhagen, which is where I fell on my face. Thank you for pointing that out earlier, Sophia. I was speaking at an event in Copenhagen, and one of the things that I mentioned was I was in foster care as a kid, and somebody came up to me and said, "Well, have you ever thought about doing anything and getting involved with foster care?" And that kind of resonated with me, and then I was talking with my foster brother. I have a foster brother that I'm still very close with, and he is a case officer for foster families. Does like child protective services in the state of Washington, and he threw this huge Christmas party for these kids, and had Santa come in, and they're doing gifts, and they had the police come in, and all this crazy stuff, right? And I'm like, I really want to do something like that. I want to throw a party. Me, I love to throw a party, and so I talked to my wife, and she said, "Oh yeah, you should. That's what you should do. You should just try to find an organization that already does stuff like that, and you can help out instead of trying to do it all on your own." So I hit Terry up, and I was like, "Hey Terry, Mr. WMD, I need you to find a foster care organization for me to get involved with." And it just so happened that the night before, you were at a
trivia event.
A trivia event where you met one of the representatives from this organization, and you had already started kind of talking to them about going and doing a tour and checking it out. And it's literally like the day before. So serendipitous that the way that all shook out. And that was about 3 weeks ago now.
Yeah, probably.
Okay.
Give or take.
But so we just did the tour yesterday. Yeah. So and there's a component to this that resonates with you as well, if you don't mind sharing why.
Yeah, so I was adopted as a kid. So fortunate enough that happened early enough that I don't necessarily remember being through the system. But from what I was told, I was in and out as we moved down the state of Florida before I got to my adoptive parents.
You must have been a cute kid, man.
I used to joke with my sister all the time. She'd be like, "Oh, you're adopted. Nobody loves you." And I'm like, "Well, they picked me. So they pay good money for me."
There you go.
But because of that, I was kind of always also fortunate, as like a sidebar, also fortunate in the sense of my dad was also adopted. So growing up, I was always able to have those conversations. Any uncomfortable kind of growing pains with that. I was able to have those conversations with him. And we always would do a lot of work with the Sheriff's Youth Ranch. Throw big Christmases. We'd used to fill up one of their conference rooms. We'd throw like a big fundraiser, charity event, and it was always just important, right? And my family always, like, we would go pick out the names on the tree at like Walmart, and we weren't allowed to make a Christmas list until we picked out gifts for other kids. So my parents, big emphasis on, right, like no matter what you have or don't think you have, like somebody has less.
Right, for sure.
Once I moved out to Tampa, kind of got away from doing that and kind of missed it, right? Like it's very humbling and like kind of grows the gratitude a little bit. And happened to go with Terry to that to the trivia night, and once I started talking to them and like really realizing like what they do and like the good that they do, because it's so much more than just like holding the kids, right? And like fostering the kids. Like they help out the families that are in potential of having situations arise, and going through CPS and all things like that. So it was kind of just one of those weird moments where I just happened to go and run into it, and it was kind of one of those like, hey, this is why you showed up, to like be able to get back involved and do something like that. So I had already looked into it. And when I got the invite, I had asked Terry, and Terry was like, you need to go talk to Will right now. I was like, okay, can do, will do.
Yeah.
But it's cool. Like it's just, I'm excited to get back involved in doing stuff like that.
Yeah, no, it's there's a lot of ways that I want to try to help that organization and see if we can get involved with them. Even first as we're going through, we see this big room that's dedicated to art, and it's a beautiful mess, right? And I'm instantly like, you guys want a bunch of paper, right? Because I know we've got just stacks and piles of paper that's never going to get used. So donate that immediately, and then see about maybe having some of the kids come and do some tours of our facilities, and we've toured there, and maybe even see if we can set up some volunteer programs with our employees where we go out and maybe hang out on a Saturday, or just do some different things to get involved. But I've had this idea that's kind of been brewing over the last few months of launching a new brand. So we have Sign Parrot, right? So Sign Parrot does vehicle wraps, and we do printed wraps. And the question is always, do you do wraps? Like the correlation of a sign company doing vehicle wraps doesn't necessarily like vibe. Most places that are doing wraps in town have the word wrap or car wrap or something in their name. So we just happen to have an extra address sitting around at the Columbus building where Sign Parrot's located. And one of the main points of this podcast is to give marketing tips. So one of the best things that you can do as a business is have a brick and mortar address. Having a brick and mortar address allows you to verify it with Google, which then gets you into the business listings and gets you verified and out there and out there quickly. So since we happen to have this extra address, and I came up with this idea to launch a brand dedicated to vehicle wraps, which is We Wrap Tampa. So WeWrapTampa.com is under construction right now. I've gotten a few logos from a few of our team members that I'm still waiting on some more proofs from people, but we'll decide on branding here probably in the next week or so. And we're going to start launching and rolling this out. And one of the things that I want to do to help promote and market this company is I want to work with some nonprofit organizations, and we're going to donate some wall murals. So we're going to go out and we're going to print and install some wall murals. We want to get involved with some other local artists. So any artists out there that are listening to this podcast and you want to get involved, give us a shout.
What are the sizes of the walls? Because I know, aren't these like massive wall
It just
murals?
depends on it depends on the wall.
Yeah.
I mean, we can.
So-
How big's your building?
Yeah, we're doing a survey on like a high school that's under construction on Tuesday next week. We've already got the contract, and it's something like a football field's worth of vinyl going up on walls. So I mean, I don't know if we can donate a football field's worth of vinyl, but we can do some really cool and big stuff, right? It's funny, we're walking around the facilities, and we haven't had this conversation at all or mentioned to them that like, oh yeah, we want to donate a wall mural to you. I'm rubbing on the walls in every room that we go in to like check the texture, like, oh, this might be a good wall. So at first it just looked like this weird guy walking around like rubbing the walls.
It's okay, guys. He fell. He bumped his head. He's a little odd. It's just Will.
Yeah. But it's all kind of part of this big overarching master plan that I have, right? So we've been doing marketing for Wraps the last month really aggressively. We've had billboards up all over town. I bought a data list of about 6,000 leads that we've been emailing. And that's really we've put all of those leads into our platforms for remarketing and target marketing and demographic marketing. So they're getting served ads on their devices, computers, TVs, the ones that we can actually capture. It's not 100% reliability there, unfortunately, but we're definitely getting eyeballs on those things. So we're marketing to these people specifically for fleet vehicle wraps. And we're marketing to them right now as Sign Parrot. So we have the sequence of touch points. We've just kind of been sending them random emails, some of them about wraps, some of them just about other services that we offer at Sign Parrot, serving them ads for wraps. We just sent them out a postcard in the mail, and not the full 6,000. So now what I've done is I've tailored it down to about 650 leads. So the 650 leads are the companies that have the most vehicles with the highest income. The original data poll was we looked at organizations with 20 or more employees with an annual revenue of $1 million or more with a fleet of vehicles. So any more than, I think, 5 vehicles, we were going after them. So we took it down to 650, and really we looked at who has the most vehicles. So 50 vehicles or more is what gave us that 650. And that's what now we're kicking into sending a postcard, so doing direct mail. And the next touch point is we're driving around to all of the areas in the neighborhoods where these businesses are located, and we're putting up yard signs. So you might see yard signs around town for Sign Parrot. And then we're going to send them another postcard. And then I'm going to send them a personal letter. And then I'm going to send them a personal email. And then we're going to call them, right? So we're going through all of these different touch points with this data, right? And then at the end of all of this, anybody that we haven't already connected with or turned into a client or converted into a client, we're going to start the whole cycle over again, and we're going to do it with We Wrap Tampa, right? So I'm using this and this is one of the methods of marketing that we use to grow Tampa Printer and to grow it at the accelerated rate. So I'm kind of trying to create a case study behind We Wrap Tampa and putting all of the different types of marketing that we've done over the years, compressing it into this short time span and seeing if we can really actually launch a brand in a short period of time completely on its own with the resources and the things that we've learned. So that's what my plan is to talk about that and how that's going to work over the next several episodes of this podcast. And we want to invite business owners that we interact in this way onto the podcast. If we can show and prove this as a method through case study, this is what Gorilla Consultants will be doing, right? So if we connect with a plumber and we start doing their fleet, and how did we market to you, right? Well, why don't we take that same method of marketing and apply that to people that you need to market to? So a plumber, who would a plumber need to market to? What are the demographics of a plumber or a plumber's audience?
I mean, anybody that needs to use a restroom, really. So.
Right. I mean, anybody that's got a toilet, that one's a little bit more difficult. Like the AC guys are you've got the AC cleaning and that sort of stuff. So you can look at the age of the home, the age of the homeowner, if they have allergies. There's different things and different demographics. I mean, really for plumbers, like people that shit a lot. I mean, I guess we could look for like people that are on acid medication or something is like a reverse data point. I'm gonna have to look more into this now. I know I'm curious about how do I pull data for a plumber, right? But the point being is really kind of putting all of these things together in a real way and documenting it in real time, right? Like I know it works. I've done it over the course of the last 10 years, but it hasn't been really documented other than just what has happened. So I'm super excited for that. I'm super excited to do more community outreach. That's kind of the brand voice of We Wrap Tampa is when we're talking about the branding and we're talking about the logo creation. I told all the designers, I said, well, replace the word wrap with love or embrace. And that's what we want the logo to convey. And I've actually gotten some really cool stuff that I'm excited about that I think is going to work. So the the Children's Home Network, right? Children's Home Network is just one. We want to do some more. So if you have a facility that you think we could do a really cool wall mural on, let us know. We're happy to take a look at it. The goal being is we want to incorporate artists, local artists, but as well, for the Children's Home Network, I think we try to incorporate art from the kids themselves and make it like a project that they're involved in, right? So it's not just, hey, we're going to come and slap something up on the wall. We're like really actually like getting involved and working with them and making some cool stuff. Children's Cancer Center, I think, would be another great one that we could work with. And I'm sure that there's many other organizations in Tampa Bay that would be great candidates. So I hope you come back and check out more episodes as we continue to talk about this and go further down the rabbit hole on the success of this. I'm confident that it's going to be successful.
I think the key word in this case study is going to be consistency, though. Having our label, our logo consistently show up, on their mail, on their door front. They might not need it now, but 2 years from now, somebody might start up a business and like, oh, we rap Tampa, we love Tampa, like I'm going to go to them.
Yeah, and in today's age of marketing, right? We're so inundated with advertisements. Everywhere that you go, everything that you do is an advertisement. Almost every article of clothing that people wear is an advertisement. It's complete rabbit hole or side note here, but we had a boat motor get damaged in the Rat Bay, and we had to replace some parts on it. And it was a Yamaha motor. And when you go to buy the replacement with the badges is like $1,800, but without the badges, it's like $3,400. So I was like, well, why would it be cheaper with that? Why would it be more expensive without the logo? I was thinking it'd be cheaper. It's like, well, no, that's how Yamaha advertises it. They want their brand on the side of their motor. If you want it unbranded, you got to pay more for it because that's marketing, that's advertising.
It's like sponsorship.
Exactly. Sponsorship marketing, it's all same shit. But the point being is that we're so inundated with advertisements consistently. And I've been doing marketing a long time. And what we used to say was the rule of 3 is that somebody would have to see your brand or your marketing at least 3 times before it ever resonated with them. And really now I think it's much higher than that. And I can randomly put a number to it and say 10 or 5 or 7, and I don't really know for sure. And I don't know if any true study has been done, but it's definitely not 3 and it's definitely not 1. So, the point being is you have to be consistent, right? Having your brand in front of people in different ways and in different methods and continuous, right? And that's how we've been able to grow Tampa Printer. We have, you can't miss us. If you drive down Kennedy, you're going to see the big gorilla, Now we've got the big gorilla over at Sign Parrot too.
It's such a key point. I mean, people always come in just like, I just want to know what you do. I see the gorilla and it's just like, like this is several different businesses and this is what we do. And people are just curious about it to begin with. So. Good point.
But it's the easiest way to get people in when they're like, oh, well, where exactly are you guys? You guys are on Kennedy, right? And I'm like, just drive down and look
big
for
gorilla.
A giant gorilla. And they're like, oh, that's you?
Yeah.
I can't wait. Or even, people with the B&I group. Like I've had people come in with their kids and they all want to take a picture outside with the gorilla. And then I get sent them afterwards and I'm like, thank you.
Post them.
Yeah.
That needs to get posted. When you get pictures of people coming and taking pictures with the gorilla, that's content that we want to put out there, right? The whole point of this is not just about the marketing to this list, right? We're marketing to this list as a way to create branding and create clients, right, and leads and so forth. But we're also documenting this and using this to create content for our social media, right? So we're talking about it in the podcast. We're going to continue to talk about it in the podcast. We're going to give marketing tips as we go. I'm going to tell you all of the things that I am doing verbatim. I'm going to give you the playbook for free. That's what we're doing, right? But we're also documenting it from a bird's eye of like how it's working and what we're doing and how we're creating our social media content around this, right? Social media right now is all about informative, right? If your content doesn't benefit me in some way, why am I going to read it, right? Like if all of our content is nothing but, hey, look what I can do, right? And it's not interesting, it's not engaging, and there's no story behind it, then it's just another advertisement, and it's just going to get glossed over just like every other advertisement. So we have to stand out and be different, and this is my idea to do that. So I'm really excited for it. I'm excited for you guys to be a part of it. I'm excited for everyone listening or watching to be a part of it as well. And check us out. Depending on where you heard this podcast, you can hear us on Amazon, you can hear us on Apple, Android, Spotify. If you like to watch, if that's your thing, we're on YouTube, and we have all the old episodes still from the old Gorilla Gurus days. Gorilla Gurus is gonna be dead, but we're not going to get rid of the old episodes. So the marketing happy hour and the monkeying around marketing tips and all that stuff is still up there, and it's still going to be found under Gorilla Consultants. But moving forward, we are Gorilla Consultants. You can find us on Instagram under Gorilla Consultants, YouTube. It's at Gorilla Consultants. And if you want to check out what I'm doing, it is on Instagram, it's Gorilla Will. And on LinkedIn, it's Will the Printer. But thank you again for checking out this episode, and check out the next one.